A picture is worth 1,000 words. But what if something sinister and strange is caught in that picture? Grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and let's hear 3 stories where the picture was worth 1,000 worries. Duplicate pictures. Hopefully this isn't breaking any rules by being sort of my mom's story and more of an almost encounter, but I feel like it should go here. When I was younger, from ages 3 to 7 maybe, I lived only 10 minutes or so from my second cousin's house. She's only 6 months older than me, so we pretty much spent every possible weekend and holiday together. On one such weekend, when I was staying over at her house, we'd both taken baths before bed, and as some young kids do, we're running around naked. We were only 5, I think, and practically sisters, so it wasn't weird. It was just playing between bath time and getting into pajamas time. Our moms, thinking this was adorable, took photographs. My mom has always been big on disposable cameras. They're cheap, they're everywhere, and she's always loved getting the pictures developed and rediscovering moments she captured. I think this was around the time she stopped using disposable cameras. There were only 4 or 5 pictures of me and my cousin, both naked. But when my mom got them developed, the naked pictures were marked differently. They were marked as having been duplicated. Whoever processed that roll of film made copies of 2 naked little girls to keep for themselves. For their sake, let's not meet. Creeper takes pictures of me at a temple. To give some background information, let me first start off by saying this has left me constantly looking over my shoulder. This June, I traveled abroad with an exchange program in Japan, where I would be a host student and study at a local high school for 8 weeks. My host family had taken me to the sites in Kyoto and Osaka, but there were a few places we hadn't gone yet. On Saturday, we decided to go to a famous temple in the area, and only me and my host father went since my host sister was at volleyball practice. My host father's hobby is photography, so he brought his DSLR camera and a bunch of lenses so we could get the best possible shots. We arrived at the temple, and there was a good mix of Japanese and gaijins. For those of you who don't know, a gaijin is a foreigner. We proceeded to buy our tickets and entered the temple, and my host father whipped out his camera and started to take pictures of the landscape and candids of me as well. Pretty soon, I realized people were staring at me, and I paid no attention to it, since it looked a bit strange for an American girl to be walking with a Japanese man. I brushed off the weird glances as I was captured by the temple's beauty. As I was taking pictures on my phone, an English man next to me taps my shoulder discreetly and says, "There is a man following you. Taking pictures of you, miss, be careful." I laughed and told the man that it is only my host father who is taking pictures, and the man turns ashen in the face and says, "No, not him. The man is behind your host father. He has been taking pictures of you the whole time while neither of you are looking." At this point, my heart begins to race, and as I turn around, I see none other than a short, chubby Asian man holding a digital camera that's pointed right at me. I act nonchalant and walk to my host father and try to explain the situation, but my Japanese is not advanced enough to give the full story. The only thing I can muster out is "chikan," which means pervert in Japanese, and point discreetly to the man following me. My host father, who is a whopping 6'2" man, walks over to the creepy guy and converses with him in Japanese, and gets him to hand over the camera, then runs for his life to the temple exit. Much to my surprise, the SD card is full of pictures of only me, and they progressively get more creepy. There was even a picture that he somehow snuck from under my skirt, which I didn't even notice. We contacted the temple security and the local police, and they're investigating and promised to return with more information. Although there was no harm done to me, I feel constantly paranoid that now everyone is taking pictures of me, or that I will somehow see this man again on the train or on the bus, and that this time he won't settle for pictures up my skirt. He was in my graduation picture. So this happened between 2011 to 2012 when I graduated. I live in a smaller town where there wasn't much to do for kids under 18, so my friends and I would always go to the movies together. It was a very casual thing. We did it almost every weekend. Every time we went, I started to notice the same guy, Seth, who was always working. Seth would always stare at me, until one time he came up to me and asked me for my number. This was the same time I took my little brother and sister to the movies. I didn't know what to do. I was so young and I wasn't used to being asked, and I didn't want to be mean. So, yes, I gave him my number. He had texted me and asked if he could take me out on a date. I politely declined and said I was really focused on school and he seemed like a really nice guy. After that, I slowly stopped responding to his text altogether. Then, fast forward to where it gets more creepy. I had still went to the movies with my friends often, seeing him but trying to avoid him as much as possible. I went to the movies one time with my best friend to the midnight showing of Spider-Man, and almost all the shows were sold out. So we got there super early and were alone in the movie theater. As we were in the theater, Seth walks up and it seems like he already knew we would be there. He walks in and walks all the way up to where we were sitting and makes small talk with us for 10 minutes. And I just remember thinking how strange it was that we were alone in a sold-out movie for so long. Not too long after this, I graduated high school. I hadn't been to the movies in a long time after that, so I hadn't seen him. I guess I was glad at that. He was really sort of creepy. I had graduated in May, and I was deleting things off my laptop around the end of July, and I was reminiscing about my graduation pictures. Everything seemed normal until I stopped to look at one picture and I started crying my eyes out. It was a picture of my brother and I hugging at graduation, and behind my brother to the right, you can clearly see Seth with an upset look on his face standing behind my brother. This was the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I knew for a fact that it was him. I decided to text him and he denied ever being at graduation that day for any reason. He would not admit it. I never thought he stalked me until I saw that picture, and it was so scary to think that he had been to other places I had been, but because I hadn't taken a photograph, there was no evidence. I hadn't even seen him there, and he had never blatantly given me a reason to think that he was that crazy. I still have the picture to this day, and It just creeps me out thinking that he was so close to me and I didn't even know. Creepy Seth stalker. Let's not meet ever again.